Hey everybody, this is Aaron the Pedantic. Hopefully I will get this take and I'll be satisfied with it. There will be bad language. There will be content that is hard to deal with because I'm going over the Fire Mike Merles thing again because it just won't die. People are still pushing it and I need to have something where I'm really trying to be concise and I can compile what I know about all of this because honestly, with everything that I do know, it seems as though most people are sharing this because they're ignorant or they're lying because they don't like him. They don't like Merles. They don't like him being in any kind of good position. They want to make room for other people. This is a lot like the Crucible. Have you ever been familiar with the Crucible? You know, these witch hunts that occur because people are trying to utilize grudges well, not utilize grudges, but to utilize the momentum of certain things in order to crush people that are in their way or that they don't like. So that's what I think is going on here, and I'm going to lay it all out. So I will have links in the description that will have more links that you can get to so you can do as much research on this as you want. And if you find that what I have brought out is unsatisfying, it doesn't seem to be getting all the information. If you have more information or you have something that it shows that I'm wrong, then put it in the comments. I want to see it. I want to see it because my brain, the way that it works is that when people say X person did Y thing, then I have to research it. I have to look into it before I take it at face value. I don't just take things at face value, but there are a lot of people that do. They hear something from somebody they like and respect, and that's the end of it. Now they're going to push it forward, and it's just going to be a domino effect of people pushing things without ever looking at evidence. So let's look at the evidence. First off, here is something that will help you with a timeline. This is February 2019. This is whenever the allegations against Zach Smith were put out by Mandy Morbid that he was abusive to her. So she made these allegations. There is a cascading effect where all kinds of people in the role-playing game hobby decided to say that Zach Smith is a bad person. A lot of them actually made specific statements about him that could be considered libel because they're putting this out as being fact. He has taken them to court and successfully sued some people, and they've had to apologize and retract what they've said, which honestly is probably a good thing. You shouldn't just say things about people without evidence and put it as fact. You need to couch things in a good way that lets people know. So basically what you would say is an allegation was made by his partner. That's where it stops. Instead, what they would do is they would say he is a sexual predator. They'll make those kinds of declarative statements, and then he held them to account later on. Don't do that. Do not fall for that. Do not make declarative statements like that. Do not make statements of fact. Just don't do it. You need to couch things in a responsible manner because if they haven't had their day in court, then don't do it. So anyway, so Mike Merles, he basically, whenever that whole stuff came out, he, kind of said, we support safe community and all that kind of stuff. We worked with Zach, but we have not worked with him since. And we're sad to hear what happened, basically. Wizard's statement was kind of similar, basically saying that, we're proud of you for coming out against that kind of activity, and we support safe communities and stuff like that. We're removing his name from the credits because they're cowards. So we're going to put some stuff into charity, and please let us know if there's anything else that we can do. The way other people took it Not so great. Again, this is a very, very, very old tweet at this point. Not very old. I've seen older. But basically, people saying that, see, here's what Mike Merles did. Why they want him fired is because he was given verifiable information that showed Zach was a harasser, that he ignored it, forwarded the contact info of the reporters to Zach, and openly attacked those same parties. So that's what the allegations are against Mike Merles. So what Mike Merles said, that a lot of them were digging up at around in 20. So from 2014, July 5th, this is important, is basically they were trying to say, you know, that Zach is terrible. And what he said, what Mike Merles said, is that people keep saying that Zach hates gays and women. And when he asks for proof, people get quiet. So he alleged that there were people that were starting lynch mobs basically against him, and but nobody's really giving him anything useful basically. And there are a lot of sources that kind of validate this, even from the opposing side, that say that, you know, he asked for proof, he didn't get any. And at least within a certain time frame, you know, he waited a while, he didn't get any. And then he's like, okay, well, clearly nothing happened. So what we need to do then is look at what exactly Zach was accused of in that time. And so I'm going to pull this from, this is the blog of Patrick Stewart. He is somebody who has worked with Zach Smith for a pretty decent time. So he's acquainted, and he has been keeping tabs on all of this. Now, the reason I'm using his collection of things is because it's the most comprehensive thing I've been able to find. It has receipts where other people do not. So I'm just going to kind of go through this and try and summarize things because I need to be concise here. But the links are here along with archived stuff that you can use to try and get your understanding of it. So again, he urges, and I urge as well, do not contact any of the people in these links with any kind of negative or harassing stuff. I completely agree with that. Harassment is not a good thing. So here in 2008, you have Zach starting his blog. You have this particular incident where this podcast was talking negatively, or had something that Zach considered to be condescending towards the girls in his group. He requests an apology. They apologize. It becomes a whole thing. But that is kind of like, that will set the tempo for how things are going to go with Zach S. Basically, you say something he doesn't like, he demands an apology, people apologize, or they don't apologize, and that's what happens. So, you feel free to look it over. It's, you can't really look at the original link because storygames.com either doesn't exist or like just all these particular links don't exist. But the archives you can see, you can still see them. So then you have this artist, Hyung Tae Kim, where people are trying to say that this is an artist that is doing very overly sexualized art of women, making them, and it's a bad thing basically. And this is something that Zach is going to get in a lot of trouble with a lot of people, because he will argue with them that this isn't the way a lot of women feel. That this kind of art is harmful necessarily, or that it has a harmful effect even on the way that people perceive the game and interact with the communities and all that kind of stuff. This is going to be a recurring theme. So he ends up with this person having some kind of clash about that art. And by the way, I actually really like that artist's art. But, it's basically incredibly sexualized art. And it's often used in game material and different media. So you have M being displayed in Maxim, and then you have this person named Philomena who ends up saying some things about D&D with porn stars. What's interesting is, if you look at the the actual archive of it. They ended up having like a side conversation. So Philomena and Zach S. have a side conversation about her stance on it. And then, it kind of gets resolved-ish, perhaps. But one thing that's very interesting to note is that whenever I was researching all this stuff about what did Zach S. do wrong and what did Mike Merles do wrong, there is reference to this person as being someone who was outed by Mike Merles for having grievances against Zach, when Zach and this person have already argued directly. So this is kind of the main contention I have, is that even if it were true, which there's no evidence that this is the case, even if it were true that Mike Merles told Zach S. who complained against him, he didn't need to. It was already public. They have been arguing with Zach S. for some time over all kinds of different things. All right, this thing, I don't really care about this one. This one, it's basically, it's between Luke Crane and Zach, and I just don't care. I just don't care. Again, it's about sexuality, so it's basically somebody who's, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna open this one real quick. Oh, it's on Story Games. That's why there's no archive. That's why I couldn't. I don't think this one's still up here. Actually, let me check real quick. Nope. Site can't be reached. Okay. So yeah, that's why. I was like, why don't I know this one? Anyway, so there's some kind of argument happened with Luke Crane, who has been recently gotten into a lot of trouble. So there is this whole thing where people from the Something Awful forum are basically trying to call him out on various things. And, he gets banned from that Story Games website. Mandy Morbid actually made this very long post. Mandy Morbid being his partner, his ex-partner now, the one who made allegations against him, talking about how she was treated very hatefully by people on storygames.com. So then you have this thing here where basically some of the... He basically had stated, when I say he, I mean Zach, stated that some of the members of his group had serious difficulties with math, and he referenced that they were, because they were sex workers, that this was the case. And then some people were trying to say that he was being misogynist because they're female sex workers, which is ridiculous. He's just saying they didn't finish high school and they have troubles with math. It's just the whole thing. Like basically Zach and people from Something Awful are just at a war with each other, basically. There's this whole thing, and this is kind of where, let's see, where is that in particular? There you go, the grognarts.txt thing, where they're trying to keep tabs on all of the bad actors in the old school gaming community, basically. This is kind of an interesting thing. So this is what led to him being banned on RPG.net, which is but was moderated by Paul Etten, who is one of the people that Zach S. successfully sued, where there's just this really ridiculous altercation where basically people were trying to say that the creature in Numenera, that is basically just a space succubus, that it was sexist to have it in there. And basically he was trying to say that's not the case, and that not all women have the same opinions, basically. And that he knows plenty of women who don't have the same opinions about, how having those kinds of things in RPGs is pushing misogyny or anything like that, which I agree with. I mean, I know a lot of women as well who have that same kind of perspective. Okay, so he does an open letter saying, and this is one where he lets the person who runs, so Shannon Applecline, about what has transpired there, and that there seems to be a very strange thing going on where they're trying to call out about this sexist succubus, and yet they're going to have some very interesting choices of advertising. You have, so we're all the way up to 2013. This is important that we're getting this far. There still isn't really anything of actual substance. And again, if anybody knows of anything that I have missed that's not in here, then, just tell me. But as it stands, there ain't much. So then you have the Grim Jim rape threat accusation, where somebody who basically said that Grim Jim uses rape threats. Someone who threatens their critics with rape is what the allegation against Grim Jim was after this article happened, and it's completely unfounded and ridiculous. And there are people that were pushing it. And in fact, one of the people that was actually pushing people to push it was Paul Etten. Basically, if you look at this, basically, so you have to look at the archive because Google Plus is gone. A lot of this stuff happened on Google Plus, where basically he says that if you should +1 this post in solidarity, where basically, we're saying that Grim Jim threatens their critics with rape. So again, these very, very outlandish accusations with no real proof. That Grim Jim, if he had the funds, if he had, the Zach S. stacks, he probably could have, sued this guy for such a thing. But he doesn't have that. So basically people get to just get away with saying completely incorrect things about people. So Zach said that it's BS. Some people took away their pumping the +1s on it, but then Paul Etten tells people they need to pump them rookie numbers back up. So then we get to when 5th edition was released, and then people found out Zach and RPG Pundit were known as consultants. Before that happened, no complaints were sent to Mike Mearls. Okay, this is important. This means Mike Mearls did not have any reason to believe at that time that there was anything wrong with Zach S. Like, he may have known that Zach S. gets in arguments, perhaps. He may have known. It's possible. But we don't know that. We don't know that he had any information on that. It was already out whenever this stuff really starts picking up. So basically, this is something that is gone now, but I have looked at it, I've read it, and it had a lot of receipts from Google Plus, where people that later said they were doxxed by Mike Mearls actually were making posts where they were admitting that they were going to be rallying against him. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that they were doing it in a conspiratorial way, but they were basically saying, Zach S., terrible human, this shouldn't have happened, pundit bad, and we need to, put that information forward to Mike Mearls because he's collecting information. Okay? So again, this stuff is gone now, but I've seen it. It did exist. I'm going to see if I can find a way to get it again. Unfortunately, I didn't save it myself. I wish I would have, but for some reason, I didn't think that this would disappear. So here you have basically this calling for evidence on Google Plus for what happened. You have a very, very fine person named Sean Patrick Fannin, who's never done anything wrong. Go ahead and Google it. Find out what you can about Sean Patrick Fannin. Good, great person who is condemning Zach here as being a terrible, terrible, terrible person. Kind of funny how it tends to turn out that the people that are really big moral ambassadors tend to do terrible things, huh? Here is where our friend here, well, I say friend, he doesn't know who I am, but False Machine Patrick basically does his post about how Zach Smith is not a homophobe, because people were starting to say that he is. So again, all this is already 5th edition has been released. So what do you want him to do at that point? He cannot roll back time and not have consulted with Zach S, or had Zach S consult with him on the making of 5th edition. He can't change that. What exactly is the thing that they wanted him to do at that point? Basically, they were trying to say, you fucked up, by doing this. Okay, sure. Let's say that that's true. Then what exactly is he supposed to do from that point? Because you have to realize Mike Mearls was a Wizards employee who was in the industry. For him to rally against another person while working for Hasbro, by extension of Wizards of the Coast, would be an enormous thing. And you'll notice that anybody who starts to work for Wizards of the Coast, they don't say shit about stuff like this until they're gone. They'll just kind of give you some platitudes. That's because they have to in order to keep their job. And yet people want to pretend that Mike Mearls should be by some other standard where, he should have known better. But then again, what was there really? What was there? Nothing much. There was not really much. There was stuff where they're saying, he's very argumentative whenever we say bad things about him. Okay. Big fucking deal. People, if somebody says something bad about me, yeah, I'm going to argue with them. Now, there are some people that were saying that he was utilizing bad methods. This is something that came here. So sometime in July of 2014, again, when it's already happened. It's already happened. We're done at this point. Then you have, now this is Olivia Hill, do not dead name. Olivia Hill says that, I don't know the pronouns, so I'm just going to say that they received death threats from somebody, and that people are attributing to be Zach's fault, basically. Now, Zach has publicly said, don't harass people. So I don't know. I guess you could say that privately, there's an idea that privately he was organizing this. Maybe. There are allegations that he was trying to dox a trans person, and that doesn't seem to be the case. By the way, somebody that he worked with quite regularly, Scrap Princess, is trans. And basically says that these allegations against Zach S being anti-trans are bullshit. You have the evil hat guy who making a public post on Google Plus where he was apologizing for not taking things against Zach sooner. Here's the outing thing I was talking about. In which case, basically they were trying to say that Zach and Mandy were working together to out this one person who, by all intents and purposes, they didn't seem to have any information on how that person was actually trans. So that's just kind of how it was working. So a lot of people were trying to say that this was evidence of Zach starting a harassment campaign. This is in August, around the time that the player handbook fully was released in print. And so then he says, get at him, right? So then somebody says, hit him up, correct him. And he says, get on Twitter, tweet at him, ask questions, give links. So he specifically says, just talk to him on Twitter, basically. I mean, again, all this, it's already out. What do you want him to do? What do you want Mike Mearls to do? You want him to make some kind of public statement? You want him to roll back time? You wish that he was more involved in those particular circles? What did you want him to do? Instead, nobody's giving proof about anything. All they're doing is making allegations and then just saying, well, good enough. I guess that's fine. So this is my big contention against all of this Fire Mike Mearls stuff, is that By the time that anybody even knew that Zach S. was involved, it was too late. It was already done. The work was done. The consultation completed. What do you want him to do? Just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Clearly, he did not dox them because this was public information. People knew that these were people that were making complaints against him. This was not some private thing that happened. It's just not. And a lot of the people that they're saying were hurt by Mike Merle's doxing, they're lying, because they were publicly saying that this stuff, that Zach was terrible. They were publicly saying that. Like, how stupid are these people? So seriously, if you're pushing the whole fire Mike Merle's thing, I have two conclusions that I can draw. One of them is that you are a bad actor. You're lying. You know that this is false, and you're pushing it anyway because you have an agenda to remove Mike Merle's for some reason. There are a lot of people that they're using Fire Mike Merle's as a brand. I'm going to put that hashtag in my thing so that everybody can find me whenever they look for it. This lets people know that I'm one of the good guys. It seems to be a rallying point where people are just trying to grow themselves. The other conclusion that I can draw is that you're just ignorant. You have not looked into the information. You took what people said and you ran with it. And I think that is probably 95% of the people involved. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this. I'm not going to make any declarative statements about the people that said that, all I can say is that if you are going to publicly make statements about somebody, don't then claim that you were doxxed for those statements, because you weren't doing it in some kind of like shadowy corner or anything like that. You're doing it in the RPG sphere. Like, it's not some hidden thing, so just stop being dishonest. That's all I have to say about that. Just stop spreading this bullshit. Just stop.